Hello, Mallards! It is Thursday, and today I worked many long hours actually, doing a lot of stuff for Fringe. I was at the Fringe offices from 9 to 7 today. And then I got to go see Venus in Fur, which I've been very, very excited to see. A friend of mine directed the show, and I really, really enjoyed a previous show that I had seen that she directed. And so I was like super stoked to see this. It also had feminist theming that I was really interested in. And the performance that happened this evening was specifically designed for women in leadership. And there was a like community gathering. I can't remember the word that they used because gathering is not the word that they used. But essentially creating a space for people who sometimes don't have a space and welcoming them into it. So this was for women in leadership. So I got to stay after and talk with a bunch of women about what the show meant and what resonated in the show with us. And then also like just the realities of being a female leader in the workplace. And it was really cool. Like, it was really neat to connect with people and experience that. And so that part really, really elevated my experience. And I really liked that. And then the show itself was lovely. So Venus in Fur is a David Ives play. It stars two people, a gentleman who is a director, and he has been trying to cast the lead in this play, which is an adaptation of the novel Venus in Fur by a German author whose name I don't remember. And he's looking for the woman to play. And of course, no woman who has come in has been good enough because he wants something completely unrealistic. Like, his first line is something about like how I want a 24-year-old woman, but I want her to seem like an adult. You know, she can't actually be 24. She's got to be all of these things that don't go together. And then a woman comes in at the last minute, rushing, and she's like, oh my goodness, this happened and this happened and this happened, but I really want to audition. And he ends up letting her, and things evolve from there. And the actual original novel has sort of an S&M quality to it. And so the stage play does too. But a lot of the power dynamics are actually happening not necessarily in as much of a sexual nature as you would anticipate. Like, the power play is in the language and the way that they are treating each other and the way that they present. And one of the things that I enjoyed about the play is that the female character, Vonda, actually has a lot of power, even in moments where it seems like she doesn't. And that is the whole point of her character, is that she is never truly honest with the man until the end. And the audience gets a sense of that a little bit earlier, but he doesn't, because he's kind of dumb. And the way that it works is she is showing off her abilities and her power the entire time. And I really enjoyed it. It is a dense script. There is a lot happening. And I think that it was handled very beautifully. And the two performers are so good. Like, their dynamic immediately was so phenomenal. Their ability to create such chemistry in such charged situations without actually necessarily needing the physical intimacy to get them there was really, really, really phenomenal. And that is down to the performers and their comfort level with each other, and the intimacy, coordination, and the director all came together to create such a dynamic time on that stage. Also, I really liked the set. It's supposed to be a dilapidated studio, and they did a great job of showing that. Down to my favorite thing, I think, was that the table, so they had like a metal table and it was like bowed. And I thought that I don't know if that happened on purpose or it happened during rehearsals, because she gets on the table a couple of times, but it really, really added wonderfully to the ambiance and the set design. And I liked the set design in general. I enjoyed that show from start to finish, and I thought that there was a lot of interesting things happening in the play that then we carried into the discussion later. We also talked about what would be different if that show was written by a woman, because obviously David Ives is like writing this about female power and sexuality, and that's kind of interesting and is something that I've thought a little bit about too, because I've been thinking about other shows that are like that, and other films. I had a discussion with the PDT people during our unstructured play a few days ago, where we were talking about the Emma Stone film that is it Pretty Things, maybe, is the title of it, but essentially, like, the point of the film is that the mind of an infant gets put into this woman's body, and then she like discovers her sexuality and runs off to sleep with people. And how do we really need things like that in 2024? Like, is this the thing that should be getting recognition? A movie based on a book written by a man about literal, in that case, like in the book, it is an unborn infant's brain put into the body of a woman who committed suicide. And their decision is that a woman with a childlike brain just wants to sleep with people. And so there's things like that. And I also thought about it as I watched Moulin Rouge, a show based on a film that is essentially about a man who is upset because he fell in love with a prostitute, and then she wants to keep being a prostitute. Like, the very definition of like, I don't like the fact my girlfriend has a job. And I get that like her being a prostitute is like different than her being like, I don't know, the manager at a fast food joint, but the power dynamic is still the same. And there is a lot to be said about not necessarily needing stories like that. And so it was interesting to sit down to a play that is about feminine power and that sort of dynamic, written by a man, but directed by a woman. And she made some changes and some choices, not changes to the script, but direction choices that can change the way that things happen. And I think that there is room within things like this to show a feminine perspective, even in something written by a man. And unlike Moulin Rouge, the female character in this has a lot more agency and is the one with power for a large part of the show. And especially as the audience, you can see that power, even if the character, the male character, never sort of realizes it until the very end. All in all, it was a really great time, and I thought that it was a very interesting play and a very fascinating discussion afterwards. And it's just one of those things where like, this sort of idea has just been circling lately, and it felt like another natural step in discussions I'd already been having over this past week. So that is what I did with my Thursday evening. If you've seen Venus and Fur or read the original German book, let me know what you think. I'm curious. I'd love to hear your opinions about being a female in power. And I will talk to you tomorrow.